My name is Gilbert, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mlimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields: agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mlimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields: agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farm, no food. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. All those who are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much for joining us. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for joining us for this wonderful fish farming training. This is the 5th training out of 6. Please stay tuned, enjoy, and let's get straight to the training. Mr. Roy, please may start the training.
Dame. Come, look, get they're somewhere. They're somewhere. You know them, right? Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to this afternoon's discussion today. During our discussion today, we are trying to look at our fifth component that is quite also important, and it's quite a new venture that is gaining popularity across Southern Africa. Yeah, so we want to look at it and see how best we can exploit. So one thing that we are trying to look at is we want to equip ourselves with the skills that will help us stand alone or do the fish farming as a business and realize some benefits from there at the end of the day. So we want to also, from the beginning that we started, we want to have at the end of the day have the basic knowledge of fish farming, and also have the necessary strategies that will help us to manage our fish farming business properly. So in a nutshell, we are trying to look at having access to the best aquaculture practices that may help us do the fish farming in the more sustainable manner. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to marry the two, the environment and also the fish that we are doing. The two should live in harmony, and no one should be left bruised at the end of the day. So we need to be guided by the principles that have been proven to be sustainable. Okay, so that being the case, I'm going to share a presentation, and today we are looking at want to look at catfish, and what do we have to know about this fish, and how can we take this farming of this fish to another level? How can we benefit from it? And then what are the advantages of this fish species, and the key technicalities that are required for one to venture into this farming, this type of farming? And I will look briefly at I think in this one, and then the last presentation that will come next week on the cage culture, the cage fish farming, how you can do that one. Okay, so I'll be sharing this one. Okay, so those are the topic of discussion today. So throughout our discussion today, we'll be looking at these guys that you are able to see beamed on the screen there. So that is the Mulonge. Our colleagues in the other side, they call it I've forgotten. It's been some days since I came back from Northwestern or from Western there. Yeah, then the others they say Umulamba, that is catfish, but we know the scientific name, we would call it Clarias gariepinus. That is if you are looking at the species that is we are seeing here, but there are a lot of species among from the same family. So we are trying to look at specifically this one because it's the one that has been found to have a lot of economical benefits when it's grown in the ponds. Okay, and it grows faster. Also, it has low rates of cannibalism. So now, this fish, it has been neglected for quite some time in this part of the continent, but we want now to make sure that we grow it, because when we look at this fish, it's mostly the fish for the indigenous Zambians, for the low-income Zambians, people that have less finances, the people that have less capital. They are able to survive with this fish because of the factors that we'll look at. Okay, so this is the fish that we'll be discussing today, and for the people that have joined us for the first time today, my name is Mkonda Royd, and I am the managing director for Mukasa Fish Farm, And here at Mukasa Fish Farm, we are specialized in the breeding of tilapia and the same mulonge or catfish, and we supply these countrywide. So that's what we are specialized in, and also we are specialized in capacity building. So we do offer a lot of capacity building, and at the end of the day, okay, I was saying at the end of the day, we are here to produce food that is going to be supplied to the majority of our people, and the people who have good access to nutritious food. So that's basically what we do. So we also do a lot of, we are now doing a lot of research, and also we run a lot of training programs that have really benefited a number of startup farmers. So that is what we are also measuring into. But we do cage farming right here, and we do a lot of construction of fish farming systems or fish farming units, the ponds, cages, and the other development of the hatchery business models and the like. So we are into a lot of things as of now. Okay, that is what we are offering. So today we'll be looking at the catfish farming, and why do we have to look at catfish farming today? Why should we look at catfish farming today? When we look at fish production, generally the tilapia, we have in Africa, the best guys are Egyptians that are doing the best. And in the world, we have Indonesia. They are the best in the world tilapia production. So coming down to Africa, when we look at the second, in terms of generally fish production, we are looking at Nigeria. They are beating us, but Nigeria and Ghana, they are beating us because of who? This fish. This is an English name, the catfish, the mlamba. They are, or the ndombe. I was talking about the ndombe. From when you go to the western part of Zambia, they call it ndombe. Okay, so this one has made the Nigeria to bypass us, to be the giants also in the area of catfish production in the world. And in Africa, they have taken up the second slot in terms of fish production. So looking at that, we are saying the catfish that is we are talking about, it is one of the easiest and less expensive fish to grow because it exploits a variety of food resources. So the variety of the food resources that we have in the water medium and also externally that we are able to put in the water, the catfish can eat leftover food, can eat a lot of other foods that you can give them, insects, they can eat them, meat, they can eat, you can talk of if you have broiler chickens, mortality chickens, you cut them in pieces, give them, they'll eat, and they'll grow very fast. So at the end of the day, they have that stronger ability to survive in critical water quality. And this quality, this water quality we're talking about, it's an environment where maybe you have very low oxygen levels. This fish will survive. Why? Because they have two organs. They have the gills and the lungs. So they will exploit two environments. They will exploit the aquatic environment and also the atmospheric environment. So they will be taking the oxygen from both environments if the situations go to the west. That's one of the advantages of this fish. Okay. So again, the diets for this fish, to formulate it, is not very difficult as compared to the ones for tilapia. Tilapia, they're quite difficult because they do not eat a variety of food sources. And with the catfish, you find that it's only critical in the first 2 months. After the first 2 months, then it becomes very easy to grow it. Okay. Then we are talking of, when we look at the catfish farming, yes, we have had a lot of other religious activities that, or the religious beliefs that have kept us to say catfish farming as to be looked at to be a bad kind of farming, because majority of us, we are Christians, and then we have some our individual religious beliefs, and that is we respect that, and we say we cannot eat the catfish, we cannot do this. But generally looking, as a country, Zambia, we have some pointers where we can look at, say, how have they done, how have they fared with catfish farming. So we have countries that have done massive production of catfish, and up to now they are a role model in Africa and the world. So we're looking at Nigeria, and then we look at Ghana, Uganda, Kenya. These guys have done a lot of growing of catfish. So one of the countries where there is high consumption of catfish in the continent of Africa is Nigeria. They eat a lot of catfish, and also they eat a lot of catfish in Congo. Congo, they do eat a lot of catfish. So there has been a lot of demand for catfish in the Congo area. So that is what we are looking at now. I want us to look at this video. Okay, what you saw there, they are the big catfish.
Sorry, sir, we couldn't see the video.
Okay.
It's still blank.
Okay, okay. Okay. Let me see this one. How much plastic? How much plastic?
We can hear the sound, but no picture.
Okay. Okay. How much plastic? How much plastic? Okay. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, sir.
How much plastic? How much plastic?
Seems Mr. Royd is having network issues. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, You can also check us on Facebook, Mulimi Apunzile, and also check us at IMSICA Services on Facebook. You can also check out our website, imsica.com. You can buy all your farm inputs, agrochemicals, fertilizer, tractors, name it. You can also check out our website, apunzile.com. You can have all these trainings and more do's and don'ts about farming, agrochemical farming, all those things are available on apunzile.com. Please stay tuned as we continue with our training.
Education system, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. Please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of IMSICA. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at IMSICA is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old.
All right, the trainer is back. We can now resume our training. Sorry for that inconvenience.
Yeah, you know, the challenge of being in the bush, there is always interruptions, network drops, stabilizers, drops. So, but anyway, we are back, and as I was saying, we are looking at the video that I just played for the catfish, and those are the type of fish that we are talking about. And this time around, we are growing a lot of those fish, and we are supplying a lot of the markets. Most of the people that are doing fish fillets, fish snacks, fish sausages, mostly they are using most of these fish because they have very huge steak. The flesh is big, so they are able to be worked on nicely by a lot of our processors, and they get a reasonable amount of meat from them. Okay. Then what other things are we looking at when we talk about the catfish? So what are the other things we are talking about when we look at the catfish is that they are very energetic, and mostly for you to be physically fit. So 2 kg, I cannot handle it alone in most cases, when it's in water. So you need to drain water. They become very docile when you have drained the water. So draining the water helps you to make sure that the catfish, they become very docile. And once they become docile, you are going to enjoy handling them. Okay, so one other thing that we look at the catfish is that the pond where you have to put them. Because what happens with the catfish is that once you have stocked them in the pond, they become, at some stage, they become excited, especially when you are putting in fresh water, and also when you are trying to flush out some water. They become excited and they begin jumping up and down. So we need to have a level of water which is 1.5 meters deep, and at least 30-40 centimeters of the top layer of the pond, or the top depth, to be empty without water, so that even if they jump, they hammer themselves on the sides of the pond, they slide back using the slope that we talked about yesterday. Okay. The other thing that we are looking at is that for the adult fish, you need to look at the water level that should be at least allowed for them, at least between 80 centimeters or 0.8 meter water deep. And then the smaller fish, you need at least just about 30 centimeters to 40 centimeters deep, because this fish is a bottom fish. They like sitting at the bottom, and then they come to feed from the surface. So they need to have a shorter space when they are small, so that they can migrate from down, coming on top. So they do what is called vertical migration from the bottom, then they swim and they go down. They eat, they come back, that we are talking about. Initially, science, mostly even in the curriculum that is there, mostly they say they'll teach our people to say this fish is a bottom fish. They feed from the bottom, so they feed. You have to give them sinking pellets and everything. But that's an outdated science. Mostly this type of fish now, they feed from the surface, just like tilapia. So they just like, they feed, they go down to stay down there. That's their nature. So some of these facts should be edited and corrected, so that we don't have the odd belief that the catfish, they are the bottom fish, and they feed from the bottom. No, the feeding is done from the surface. The natural fish in the rivers, they are the ones that have mostly feed from them because there's no food that coming from the surface. Mostly they pick whatever is dead down, whatever is the worms and everything. That's why you find that mostly catfish has been demonized to say they have a lot of worms because of the nature of the feeding. So you find that the food is scarce there, so they have to feed whatever is there in the ground, and they have to pick whatever food they are able to come across there. So it becomes quite complicated. Otherwise, the fish, if they are just feeding on a proper diet, they are very good and they can be a very good meat. So even as people, if you are just feeding on the food that is just of questionable quality, we can have those suspicions also. Say no, we can provide the dangerous food for the animals that feed on us. Okay, so mostly the top part of the pond net also that net which will jumping out. So for example, you're using a concrete pond or a netted pond, you need to cover on top with the net so that when the catfish jumps, because they're able to jump as high as a meter, so when they jump, they hit the net and they go down, they go back. Okay. So we are looking at this fish to be a very strong fish. And one of the advantages that gives us more desire to grow this fish is because of the stocking densities that we can look at. And because their stocking densities is more of that tilapia, more than that of tilapia, so to say. So basically because they have two organs, they have the gills and they have the lungs, so they are able to switch from one environment to the other, as long as that environment permits their survival. Okay, and so there is high rate of cannibalism in the catfish. So sometimes you find that people demonize you, especially if you don't feed them. They will teach you a lesson. They will instead switch off from they'll switch off from waiting for you to bring the food. Instead, they will focus on eating the friends, eating the weaker entities in the pond. That's the way they'll behave. They don't care. Last weekend or the other week, not last weekend, I was at some farm where we supplied them with catfish. They was looking at a lot of them in the pond, but still there were a lot of skulls down because they were feeding them twice, sometimes once, sometimes they don't know. So they just said, okay, this man thinks he's clever. We'll see. So they started looking around. Whoever looks like he's asleep, how they behave. So same size of the fish to avoid that cannibalism, because whoever is smaller than the friends, it becomes a meal to the friends. Okay. So we are looking at them stocking densities between the tanks and the ponds. So the ponds we are looking at is stocking between 5 to 20 fish per square meter. And the tanks we're talking of 150 to 500 fish per cubic meter. That is the stocking density we are looking at. Okay. So the pond water should mostly be free from poisonous substances, because this kind of fish doesn't have scales that will protect it from any external effects of those chemicals that may be like, for example, chlorine and ammonia. Can talk of other pollutants of water. So it may not have that capacity to protect itself. So we need serious protection, and this protection can only come from having the water that is coming from a source which is well known. And then we are talking about maintaining these water levels at juvenile stage, so that when they are small and you increase the water level maybe to a meter deep, they will fail to swim to come to the top to pick feed, and also to come and breathe these carbon dioxide. So they will die as they are trying to switch or to swim to the top. They will get suffocated with carbon dioxide and they just give up life and die. So you need to avoid that. Maintain the water level is very low and keep on increasing as they grow. Okay. All right. So when we are looking at the stocking densities of the fish, mostly farmers ask how many fish can I stock in this one, then we guide. When you look at them, we look at they use the farm for any other business. Do they have the capacity to feed the fish? So based on that assessment, we look at the capability that you have will tell us to say, okay, this farmer, we can give them this stocking density or this stocking density. Because us as aquaculture personnel, we are able to assess you as you talk to us, as we interact. We'll be able to assess you and give you what will be workable for you. Okay, so the stocking densities will keep on being adjusted upwards based on the potential of the farmer. So these are some of my friends that we normally interact with here at the farm. Normally at the farm here, we've been having trainings, physical trainings before COVID. So like this man in blue, this side, gumboots, the other one he was from Kabwe, the other one in the middle was from Chinsari, the other one in the far end right was from Mukushi. So these guys, we stayed with them for a week, and we always do like that. We will bring people, stay with them for a week, they get to learn one or two things, and we discharge them. So that is the Mlamba you are seeing there. When there's no water, you can compare. The one you saw when there was water in the tank and when there's no water. The one when there's no water, they are very docile, well behaved, but when there's water, they become very stubborn. Okay, so we are looking at some of the feeding rates that are recommended for the tilapia, for the catfish culture. So we are looking at the feeding rates that we normally recommend with regards, of course, to temperature. So when the temperature, for example, this time around 26, so and the catfish is at 1 gram. So the feeding rate that we recommend most is about 6.5% of the body weight. Then when the fish is at 100 grams, we just recommend about 2.6% of the body weight. So this is what we are talking about. So this is 25 degrees Celsius. Now this brings us to a point why it's very important for you as a farmer, even if you have one pond, to have water quality parameter to be measuring the temperature, oxygen, and also some other parameters that you may measure the water quality. So when you measure the temperature on a daily basis, you'll be able to know that today the temperature is 25, then what percentage would you get to feed your fish? So if your fish is average weight is 25 grams and the temperature is 25, we are going to do at 3.4% of the average body weight of the fish. So 3.4% times the 25 grams of the fish. Then you'll be able to come up with the quantity of food that this catfish will feed on that particular day. Okay. So these they are determined mostly based on the nutrition requirement of the fish per day. So mostly the juvenile catfish, to avoid the build-up of ammonia in the pond because of their incapability of having scales that will protect them as a shield from the ammonia that may come about as a result of using high protein feed. We normally want to reduce the number of times to feed them to 3 per day, so that there's no build-up of ammonia too much. So normally this is the minimum. We can go even up to 5 times. So you have to look at the water quality, and also we look at 3 times to be the minimum, and then there's no build-up of too much ammonia. And also we have to make sure the aeration is done every day, mostly for the first 1 to 2 months, and then there before they can become very active, become very, very strong, you have to make sure you are aerating properly. So as they reach a month going forward, their feeding frequencies is adjusted, and then you begin feeding them slightly 4 times per day, 5 times per day. You can go even up to 6 times per day. Then the more they eat, the more number of times you give them food, the faster the growth. So that's what we are trying to look at. Then we are also looking at the end of the day, we have to look at sometimes if we have the capacity, we need to start doing the grading at the end of the second month, so that we can, they always differ. There are variations always as they grow. When they stay together for a week, there are variations. So grading is something that has to be done. So a farmer should have maybe 2 ponds, so that when they grade at the end, the final grading, they can pick some bigger ones, put them alone. Because when the bigger ones are put with the smaller ones, they always be eating the smaller ones. That's the challenge. So it makes you, the farmer, to be alert always. So we are looking at the feed particles that must be very useful to the fish as for the farmer. So we are talking of the 0.5 millimeter. Mostly this one is given to 0.5 to 1 gram of catfish. And we have 1.8 millimeter for 1 gram, 5 grams catfish, 2 millimeter for 6 to 30 grams catfish. Millimeter, 31 to 100 grams catfish, then 4.5 to 300 grams, 301 to 301 to 1,000 or to 1 kg catfish. Then 8 millimeter is given from 1 kg going above. Now, when we look at Zambia, we are just ending somewhere here on 4.5 to 5 millimeter. 6 is not there, 8 is not there, so we have to gamble here. So at the end of the day, these stages, we normally give them this one. That's what we end up giving our fish. So that being the case, again, we are looking at providing the food that will answer the nutritional demand for the fish. So that is our catfish. So this catfish is one from one of our customers in Chirundu, and this was at 308 grams. So this catfish was 308 grams, and they were grown by our client in Chirundu. This was at the age of 3 months. And this is 1 year, 2 months, and this guy was about 2 point something kg. It was big. Okay, so when we look at catfish, what is key is to understand the processing. The growing stage, how you have to handle the growing, the culturing of the catfish, what is needed, the water quality, the food. And also, you need to understand that the critical stage when they need more care, and also you need to understand that feed is adjusted as they grow from the juvenile to the adult stage. Okay. One other thing that we have to look at is we look at the other setup. Briefly, we look at the cage culture. What is the cage culture? Then here we are in a net enclosure, and this net is the natural environment, natural water, and it passes through in out of the net, and the net bag houses the fish. So growing of fish in a cage, which is anchored in water. This cage is anchored in water, does not move, and it remains fixed in the water like that. Then we are talking of this food, this fish that is growing in that environment. The food, everything is entirely provided for it. And we are talking about this net being well guarded so that the escape fish is reduced. And then we are looking at the net and the cage frames. Most of these, they have the weights that are held to one unit, and they are kept in a fixed location. So when they are kept in the fixed location, they are a designed kind of setup where they are anchored in one location, and they are just there. They don't move, and they hold the net bag in position. Okay, so when we look at this kind of establishment, we are looking at what are some of the requirements that one should follow, or some of the characteristics that will be looked at when somebody is trying to set up cage farming. So most of you have 1 or 2 other businesses running or agriculture related. So some of you, maybe you are doing crop farming and you have a very big reservoir where you are. So when you have a very big reservoir where you are, you find that you have plenty of water there. So why don't you integrate, put the small cages there, and then grow the fish inside there. But one thing that is needed if you have a very big dam there or a river flowing very fast at supersonic speed, you discover that you're going to have problems with the fish. The growth will be slow because most of the times the fish will be stressed trying to balance against the disturbance from the water flow. Also, we need to look at the cage should be free from violent or current wind. So that being the situation, we have to look at this section where I want to set up the pond, in the cage. It should have at least the required depth of even at least somewhere 10 meters deep to somewhere maybe 8 meters deep, and then you can design your cage in such a manner that there is 2 meters difference between the dam basin and the point where the net is ending. So the bottom part of the net to the water bottom, or to the ground, or to the base of the dam or the river, there should be at least a minimum of 2 meters, so that there is enough water passing through down, sipping whatever pieces are being dropped down by the fish there. Whatever uneaten feed is remaining there, it should be sweeping them away. Okay. So we need also to look at the water quality, and then this water should be free from dangerous aquatic animals. And these animals mostly that are of risk to us is the hippos and mostly crocodiles. These guys, they pose to be a serious threat to us when we engage in fish farming. Okay, so that is the unit we are talking about. And this unit we are talking about, we are looking at those being the anchors. These are the ones that pull this net down to be open like that. These ones, they are the anchors. This is where you walk around the walkways. So it pushes them up so that it doesn't sink. And this is where you put the fish. Okay, so this is what we are talking about. These are the floaters or the buoys. So they provide buoyancy to lift this frame up. Then down here we have the net, which is called the predator net. We put it outside around here, surrounds the frame, and it goes down. And at the base there, we put the anchors. So those anchors we put, they are the ones that mostly. Okay, that's put there. Thank you. They are the ones that hold the net wide open and helps to balance the weights of the frame. Then the same structure is anchored to the main anchor, and then there's the main anchor which holds the frame in position and it never moves this way or that way or the other way. Okay. So at the end of the day, this is what we have. This is the walkaway I was talking about. This is the walkaway, and this is a predator. I mean, the bed net. This bed net prevents the birds from attacking our fish inside here, and these men are busy feeding there. Then these are providing buoyancy. Okay, that is what we are talking about. Okay. So we're also looking at having an idea of what materials can be used. At the net material, we need material that will not be exposed to quick process of tearing or breaking down. So mostly we have seen that nylon is also good for most Zambian climate, and it gets damaged faster. So the polyethylene mostly works well and is stronger. Then we need to know that as we are trying to set up these units, we need to have the skill of stitching the nets. So we have to have that space, that skill, how we can mend the damaged part of the net and how we can build the whole net back and also anchor it or hook it to the frame. Okay. So this is one of an interesting activity. Mostly you find that when this activity is happening, there are a lot of stories. You can see this guy is very happy, he's interesting. That guy also is busy taking water there. they enjoy their job just to be stitching most of the nets, making the nets, and they do the job here every day. So maybe this guy, they tell a lot of stories with the women here, because this place mostly is for women. So it's interesting. I used to like working in this environment where we used to do the mending of the nets, because there used to be more interaction with the workers and everybody else who are working. Okay, wonderful. So we are trying to look at also, when you want to succeed with this, you need to develop a proper management team. That means that you need to partition your labor properly. People that have to be working on the water, they need to gain the skill to work on the water, because sometimes it's scary to work on the water. Other people, they fail to work on the water. So you need to make sure that you train people, you choose properly. Proper security, and you need to use proper data. So you need to have a boat captain and also the diver, who, in case of anything, these guys will be able to assist on the water. So sometimes when you are doing the selection of your team, you may have some ponds on the land. So you need to make sure that whatever you are planning, you are doing, no section of your farm is affected, and everything of the sections remain intact. So at the end of the day, one of the most important things that you are going to consider if you want to look at the cages, you need to have a sound budget, because the cages have high stocking density. We are looking at between somewhere 50 fish to somewhere maybe 125 per cubic meter. And some people even reach 150, but those are risk zones. Lower stocking densities are better. So they would demand a lot of feed. So that being the case, you need to have a sound budget that will require you to feed the fish properly, because if you don't feed them properly, they are going to have a weaker immunity, and you are going to expose them to a lot of pathogens that will cause diseases. So at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you provide all the safety attire. This safety attire, when you're talking of the cage operations, we need the life jackets, and also the boat should be in good condition with the very good condition engine. Okay, and at the end of the day, you have always to manage the social risk to the business, because at the end of the day, if you don't consider some of the risks that are involved in that same business, you may find yourself depressed at the end of the day. Okay, so that is a discussion I thought we should have this afternoon, since we just to have the discussion for an hour. And, just in the next, I'm joining in another meeting at just 13:58, so we can do some questions that people have this time until somewhere for the next 5 minutes or so. So the moderator, I throw it over there.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that wonderful training. I hope everyone also enjoyed that training. I personally enjoyed it. Thank you for joining us. All those who are watching us from YouTube, thank you. Just drop a thumbs up if you like the video. If you enjoyed the training, just drop a thumbs up. Comment down below your questions. Right about now, we have arrived at a question session. Please just drop your questions down below. While you're at it, I would also ask you to also follow us on Facebook, IMSICA Services, and Mulimi Apunzile. Also check out our website, imsica.com and apunzile.com. On our websites, you'll find training videos, materials, farm inputs, and many more. Please check it out. All right, we've got a question from Justin. Thank you for the good presentation. Is it possible to have access to the presentation? Yes, sir. This training will be available on apunzile.com. You can check it out. Once it's there to be advertised, all of our social media and our YouTube page and our WhatsApp groups, you have access to the training. Any questions? Yes, yes. Yes, you'll find those materials on Aponzile, no problem.
Okay.
All right, sir. I think we don't have any more questions. Looks everyone and it looks like everyone understood.
Okay.
But
Okay.
please
No,
don't feel shy to.
I have to leave you without saying bye today. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. No problem, sir. Thank you for being here, sir. We value your training. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. All those on YouTube, thank you for joining us. Tomorrow, we have another training from Saro at 10 hours. Please stick around and join in on that call. Please make a date, 10 hours, tomorrow, Friday morning. Thank you for joining us. I've been your host, Emmanuel Konini from IMSICA Aponzile team. Just want to thank the Aponzile team, Sandra, Izzy, and Chibesa. Awesome people. Thank you for joining us once again. Please have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow, 10 hours.